Welcome everyone to Extra Point. This is the twice a month podcast of Crosspoint Baptist Church. Today we have a guest with us, Lance Caddel, who is the executive director, the new executive director as of March of the Northwest Baptist Convention. Lance, how are you doing today?
Jim, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Glad to get some of our people to learn more about our convention and the ways we work cooperatively.
I love the name, Extra Point. How cool is that?
Yeah, everything's a point here. So,
I know.
Yeah, student point, preschool point, cross point. It's all a point. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Your family, your background, your ministry, really anything.
Yeah, so I've been married to my wife, Lisa, for the last 31 years. We have 5 adult children now. The oldest he just turned 30. And the youngest, matter of fact, June 1, he turned 23. And he just moved out this last year. That's kind of exciting. It's kind of a little bit of a different thing for us. I'm not sure because the whole empty nest thing. But still, the crazy thing is that he bought a house across the street.
So he's not too far away.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's an empty nest when it's a part of the same branch. So anyway, so we have 5 kids. We have 3 grandkids, and that's just a little bit about me. I've been in the Northwest now for 29 years. The last 7 years I've worked with the Northwest Baptist Convention. I was a catalyst, a regional catalyst, church health catalyst, and then moved into the director of evangelism at church health. And then from there, just like you said, recently stepped into the role of executive director. Prior to that, I pastored for 22 years.
I was just saying, I know you pastor too, so yeah.
Yeah, prior to that, I pastored for 22 years in Longview, Washington. And then before that, I planted a church just outside of Reno, Nevada.
Oh, wow. So you had a lot of good experiences that probably were helpful in getting you this job.
I think so. I mean, I'm not sure that everything, there's always curveballs.
Yeah. Well, so tell us a little bit about, because not everyone knows what an executive director of the Northwest Baptist Convention does, what that role encompasses, just maybe an overview of your position.
So I think, Jim, in order to fully understand the role, you have to kind of understand the convention itself. The NWBC, the Northwest Baptist Convention, is made up of 520 churches. And those 520 churches, they all make a decision to cooperate together in order to fulfill the mission that God's given us here in the Northwest. And the convention itself, or at least the staff itself, because the convention is made up of those 5, it's a convention of churches. The staff, we help to facilitate the work. So as churches say, hey, we want to plant churches or we want to help other churches become healthier and things like that, we help to kind of facilitate that. So we come alongside pastors and churches, and we encourage pastors, we equip churches in order to extend the kingdom. Mm-hmm. So that's the NWBC. Now my job is to kind of provide oversight to all of that and to the staff. We have a wonderful staff, and to just kind of walk with them and to help them as they, I provide some visionary leadership, some strategic leadership, but really, within their area. So for instance, I have somebody who's kind of a church health specialist, and his job is to put together the things that are going to help churches to become healthy. And I just kind of oversee that and help them. But then also a part of that executive director position is the treasurer. So that also means that I need to make sure that I'm stewarding the money that churches give so that we make sure that it's going towards the fulfillment of the mission.
That's good. That's a lot. And I'm sure that you've been able the last few months, even before that, to travel around and see a lot of things going on throughout the convention. What do you think in general are some of the strengths that you see in our cooperative work in the Northwest?
Right. I thought a lot about that. So here's the thing. Here's the beauty of the Northwest Baptist Convention. I love the fact that we have those 520 churches, that we're not a small group trying to impact a large area. But the reality is that those that have gone before us, who have done some hard work, they have planted churches in some very strategic places. And I believe that God has placed those churches there for a reason. So therefore, I kind of look at it and think, hey, that's a good thing. But then also another part that I really love is that these churches, they're all led by godly men. And they're not just godly men that know a lot about the Word of God or love to preach. When I sit down and I talk with them, they truly want to see the people in their community come to know Jesus. I know that they should do that,
Right.
but I don't know. It's pretty cool to sit down with them and to hear their heart for their community.
Yeah, that's great.
And we have a lot of long-term pastors like you. You know, guys that have been around for a long time. They know their community. They know what's going on. They've invested. They've got good relationships. You go to the Safeway. I'm sure you run into people constantly.
Yeah, and Vancouver's getting bigger and bigger, and so that's happening less and less. But yeah, there's some advantages to being somewhere for a long time. You know, when Sonny and I got married, she said that at the time, years ago, the average stay for a pastor was 3 years in a church. And she said, I don't want to move around every 3 years. And I didn't either, but I didn't know that we'd be in the same city for, it would be 40 years before too long.
Right.
And
right.
so, yeah. Well, okay, so those are some strengths, and I agree. It's great to hear that too, that there's so many passionate pastors that love their community. What about just honestly some areas for improvement that you see in general?
Yeah. One of the things that I have noticed, and I think it was taking place prior to COVID, but COVID accentuated it, and that is that our pastors, and they're tired. They're not in a real healthy place. So one of the things that I would like to see, and that we are beginning to say, hey, let's put emphasis on this, is that flourishing pastors, just helping pastors to begin to find their identity in Christ, to really begin to understand who they are, and just as a child of God, before they ever start looking at what the work is. And then, start, what's that going to mean for my home life? And what's that going to mean for my finances? So that's one of the things that we're aiming at in the coming years, to really walk with the pastors, to help them to become flourishing pastors. But then also, man, I'm telling you, some of these churches, again, 520, that's fantastic. But some of the church health is not quite where it should be. Sam Rayner just recently said that less than 1%, let that number sink in for a moment, less than 1% have a continual strategic a strategy for evangelism within their community. That's incredible to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that we don't do any evangelism,
Right.
but we just don't have a strategy for it.
Yeah.
We just have kind of pop-up evangelism events.
Some of it just things maybe we've done before. We're just going to do it again. If we did it last year, we're going to do it this year without a real plan behind it. That's true. Do you so as you think about the vision that you might have for the Northwest, I know that we have a vision statement. We've had one. It's been, I'm sure, adjusted over the years. Anything that you'd like to, how would you explain when someone asks you, what's your vision for our convention and your, the part that you play in leading?
Yeah. So I think that you kind of asked the question, something about a general vision. And I'm glad you said general, because I've been in the role for 3 months.
Right.
And I'm still trying to work through exactly what I'm looking for. Because I believe part of the vision needs to be measurable, in order for us to know whether or not we've actually got there. So for me, as I look at it, I would love in the next 10 years to see us double the number of churches. But not just double the number of churches. Currently, our average size of our church is somewhere around 50 to 55. So that means that there's a lot of churches under 55. And there's a lot of churches, a lot of churches over 55. I would like to see that number go up to 75. So double the churches, but then have it be healthier churches, stronger churches that are really pointing towards their community. What can we do? So now that's a beginning. I just gave you my, as the executive director, vision. Now, Rob Walker, who's in charge of church health, he's going to step into that, and he's going to start saying, okay, what are the things that we need to do in church health to help facilitate that? How many Thrive conferences do we need to have? How many assessments do we need to have? How can we truly come alongside pastors to help them? And then the guys that are in charge of flourishing pastors, how many events do we want to see pastors be a part of so that we can truly help pastors to be healthy?
That's good. That's good. And also, we have a lot of churches that when they meet on Sunday, they're not speaking English, right?
Correct.
Do you happen to know anything about like the statistics about that? How many different people groups or languages or whatever?
Yeah, the last number that I heard, and this came from Randy Adams, who is the former executive director, he told me that there were 27 different languages, which is incredible when you think about it. That's awesome
Yeah.
to have 27 different languages that are worshiping God on a given Sunday. And some of the numbers, just so that I thought I'd give these to you, 40 of them are in Korean, 40 in Spanish, 18 Slavic churches, 12 Vietnamese. We have 4 Japanese, we have Chinese, Burmese, Chukis, Marshallese. It is incredible. Matter of fact, there is an incredible revival that's happening amongst the Marshallese community
I've
in
heard a little bit
Spokane.
about that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, even here, we have Vietnamese and Korean.
You do, don't you? That meet in this church.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we have a group of Slavic guys that come over and they just do a Bible study here. So we've got 3 different groups in addition to our own. So that's that's our community, right? That's the
Right.
Northwest.
That's right.
I'm sure that
It reflects who lives here.
So as we think about cooperative program, again, when we do new members classes here, we call it starting point. Remember, we have a point for everything?
That's right.
Starting point. I'll ask people if they know what the cooperative program is, and a lot of times people don't know. So
Right.
how does that work for us specifically in the Northwest? How would you explain that to someone that
Yeah.
doesn't know?
Jim, I'm sure you're asked from time to time, why are you Southern Baptist? And I always tell them 2 reasons. 1, we're people of the book. 2, we're people on mission. That we understand, and I love our mission, the way we do missions. We understand that we can do far more together than we could ever do separate. And it's because of that, those 47,000 churches all the way across the United States, all cooperating, big churches, small churches, every church matters. Every individual who puts money into the tithe, everybody, it matters. So what happens is that a church makes a decision and they say, you know what, we're going to set aside a certain percentage of the monies that we have received in order to go towards the cooperative program. And then that money has come to the state convention. Out of those monies, so for every dollar that comes to us, 80 cents stays here. So 80% stays here locally for us to be able to do the work that we do here within the Northwest. So Washington, Oregon, and Northern Idaho. 20% goes on to the larger entities. And of that, I thought I might give this to you guys because these are numbers that most people don't know. 50.4% go on to the International Mission Board. And that goes to support 3,900 missionaries around the world, the largest mission organization in the world. And it's because churches cooperate. 22.79% goes to NAM, and that's more in North America, and that would be United States, Canada, and Mexico. And that number goes for church planting. There's some send, disaster relief sort of stuff that they do, that sort of thing. And then 21.92% goes to seminaries, our education. And then from there, you have 0.24% goes to historical library, 2.9 goes to the EC operational expenses. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great program, and for me too, when I came into, my first church out of college was a SBC church. I'd never heard of SBC before, and it was the cooperative program that really, I thought, wow, this is great. And then, my 2 of my adult kids have gone to seminary, and one is a missionary overseas, and he comes home and he doesn't have to go to churches, right, and raise, he can go and give reports, but he's not picking, I'm going to go to this church because it's bigger so I can get more money. He's just sharing because everything's paid for, housing. And
his going back is not dependent upon how much he can rile up here. Yeah.
And that's a very unique thing.
And not to mention, we have hospitals overseas, we have education facilities overseas. So we really care for the missionaries that we send so that they can truly focus on sharing the gospel with people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I appreciate you sharing those details and statistics. So, what are some things coming up for you in the near future, and what are you kind of excited about?
Yeah, so like I shared with you, we're still working on the mission vision, trying to kind of hone that in, and then we're making some structural changes with the staff. Everybody's going to be dual catalysts, so instead of just evangelism and church help and church planting, everybody's going to be double. That way we can, within our regions, we can really truly help churches all the way from the place of unhealth to the place of healthy and planting. So I'm really excited about that. And then the other thing that it's hard to explain, but we're calling it the 5 gears. So if your listeners are thinking, it's 5 gears that are kind of interlocked together. So when one gear moves, all the gears move. And there are 5 areas that we're looking at focusing on for at least the foreseeable future. And that's joining God in His work. And it's just a matter of taking a look and saying, God, what are you doing? Where are you doing it? And I find that a lot of times when I go and visit with pastors, they're so close to the work that they don't always see what God's doing. And I get the chance to walk in and say, man, can you see this? Oh, that's so cool. So joining God in His work, partnering with churches, helping pastors to flourish, and then thriving or creating or helping churches to thrive, and then planting more churches. So those are the 5 areas that we're really working on. Which I think helps us to know, so this is who we are, this is what we do, and then everything else we're able to say no to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's half the challenge, isn't it? Because there's a lot of good things that could be done, but they're not always the best things.
That's right.
Yeah. And you are going to the convention, right? That's part of your job, I'm sure, but you've been there before, and
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Looking forward to hanging out with some of the folks from Northwest and just kind of seeing how things land.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We've gone before, it's been a while, so one of these years, Sonny and I were just talking about this the other day, we're going to go back again. I love to just go and listen to the sermons and the music. That's maybe not her favorite thing, although she does like preaching and music. But like we were in Orlando years ago when we were younger, and said, we're right there by Disney. And I'm like, yeah, but there's so-and-so's preaching tonight, So anyways, I hope you have a good time. Anything else you want to share with us that is on your mind or your heart?
I'm really excited about the future. The work that God has been doing is incredible. I love hearing the reports from the churches and from pastors. And when I ask those kind of questions, just to hear the things that are going on. Our last Easter, I had so many people text me and say, hey, you wouldn't believe we had this many salvations, or we had this many folks show up, or we were praying for this family and they showed up. To me, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just obvious that God is working. So I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about our staff and about the work that we're doing and the restructuring and the ability to be able to put ourselves right in the midst of the churches and to really, truly partner with the churches to help them fulfill what it is that God's called them to do.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you for being here. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And we always end with a benediction, so may grace and peace be yours in abundance through Christ Jesus. Thanks, Lance.
Thank you.